Hi everyone, I'm going to share a technique video today. This technique is called the Bandana technique or the StazOn technique. I've shown it on some examples of my work before, but I've never done a tutorial on it and I've had a request to do so. So the essence of the technique is to use brightly coloured inks with also black ink and white highlights. So this is a greeting card that has been done with this method, and you can see the bright colours on there and the white highlights as well. This one is a postcard. This one was done with a textured background, but you've still got the white highlights and the bright colours against the black. And this one, I do have a video on this one. Again, it's a slight variation of the technique. It does have the bright colours. The white highlights in this case were done with enamel accents, and there's some glitter and things on that one as well. What I'm going to do today is a tag to demonstrate the technique. This is regular white cardstock. If you're in the UK, this is from Craft Creations and it's called Taffeta Smooth, so it's got a very smooth surface. I've just cut this at 4 by 7 inches and I've used a punch to get the tag top as well. Then you're going to need a range of stamps. Most of the stamps I'm going to use for this are from Tim Holtz, so I'm using stamps from the Bitty Grunge plate, the Psychedelic Grunge plate, the Ultimate Grunge plate and the Urban Chic plate. But if you don't have those stamps, any stamps that you want to use are going to be fine. I would look for some stamps where there's the opportunity to put highlights on, like on this one or on this bingo card for example. But other than that, you can use whatever you want. So I'm probably going to fast forward the next bit whilst I get the stamps onto the tag. So now the tag is completely covered with stamps. You need to choose some inks to add the colour. The StazOn inks are the best for this technique because they are probably the brightest inks when they're transferred to the cards, although I have tried it with other inks and colour washes as well. So have a go with whatever inks that you have. Just be aware of the fact that you're not going to get such a bright colour contrast if you don't use StazOn. A good starting point for this technique is just to use primary colours because they're going to blend well, they're not going to go muddy, you're going to create secondary colours when they blend into each other as well. The first thing is to decide which ink colours are going to go onto which areas, and you need to apply quite a lot of ink. I use Ranger Cut and Dry foam to apply inks. I generally use it without the blending tool just because I find it easier. And you need to make sure that the black ink that you've used is also obviously a permanent ink and it's completely dry, so you might need to heat set that. I used StazOn ink because I know it's going to dry permanently, I know it's going to dry quickly, and I also know it will not interfere with the rest of the StazOn colours because they all work together. So the first area where I've added ink is the centre image, the heart, and I've let that just overlap into some of the surrounding images. I'm also going to add some of the red ink to the mesh image at the top, and again let it overlap into the surrounding images. And you might need to go over this a few times depending on how porous your cardstock is, how old your ink pads are and how well blended you've got them. So you just keep going until you've got a vibrancy that you're happy with. And I'm going to add some more at the bottom piece of mesh. and over probably about half of that mesh, I think. Okay, so the second colour now is ultramarine blue, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing again, and then I'm going to move on to the third colour, which is the sunflower yellow. So I'm going to fast forward this again to save us some time, and then you can see the colours blending. The tag's now completely covered with the inks at the vibrancy that I'm happy with, and you can see where the colours have overlapped and made a secondary colour. So obviously the yellow and the red have tinted it orange, and then the blue and the red have made a purple over here, and so on. The final stage of this is to add the white highlights, and my preferred method of doing this is to use one of the many white pens that are on the market. And since one of the questions I often get asked is which white pen I use, I'm going to go through the pens that I do use most often. The one I've used for the longest is a Signo Uniball, and it has a code on here, UM153, although depending on where you buy it, it doesn't always have that code on there, but it is sold as the Uniball Signo Broad, and although it's called Broad, the tip on there is actually a fairly fine tip. Also by Signo is this one here, which is sold as the Angelic white pen, and this one is slightly finer. I think it's probably the same pen but a finer nib. So that's better for detail work, although I find because it's so fine and not as much ink comes out, then it's a little less white. And this one here is a fairly new pen to me. This is a Uni Posca. This is the whitest pen, but it also has the broadest nib, and this is a paint pen, so it will go over any surface, whereas sometimes the Uniball pens won't go over things like acrylic, for example. They'll keep stopping, and you have to sort of scribble on a bit of paper to get them working again. But I use this pen a lot. This has been my staple white pen for a long time. So if you're going to get one, this is the most common one I think that people use for a good white pen, and that's the one I'm going to use on here now. So the highlights can be wherever you want to put them. You can have lots of white or a very small amount of white. It depends on your own personal taste, and obviously how well the images lend themselves to white highlights in the first place. I like quite a lot of white on there because I really like the image to pop from the background. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how you do that now. I'm going to start in the centre, and I'm going to highlight the white of the heart. Now this is a grunge heart, and I could take into account all the grunge parts of it, but I'm just going to basically go around the heart kind of slowly, because if you go too fast with these pens you are going to get the ink skipping. And then you can thicken up the lines if you want, or you could fill in the whole of the heart obviously if you wanted to, or make it more grungy. It's completely up to you. And I'm also going to go around some of these points as well. And that will just make the ray effect that comes out from the heart more vibrant. here's the finished tag. As you could see in the time-lapse part of the video, not only did I highlight areas in the white Signo pen, but I also added some glossy accents and some stickles to embellish the tag. I also distressed the outside and sponged around there with some black StazOn and added a few fibres to the top. So I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. I hope you will be able to adapt this technique to suit your own style and what stamps you have. If you've got any questions, leave me a comment, and thanks for watching. Bye!